Guys, we are already halfway to hitting our membership goal. We're just 41 members away. This is a small, progressive channel, and we really, really depend on your support to grow and continue. Please support this channel for as little as $2 a month, or $5 a month, or however generous you're feeling. Patreon.com/papichuliman. The links are in the description. I'm counting on you guys. I love you. So the DNC have decided to change the debate requirements for March 15th at the last minute in an attempt to screw Tulsi Gabbard. Only Biden and Bernie Sanders will be present. Tulsi Gabbard is still in the race, and by the DNC's own rules, she had qualified for March 15th. You needed at least one delegate. She got 2 from American Samoa, and all of a sudden, just by coincidence, the DNC decides to change its rules. This is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I shouldn't even have to talk anymore. The video should end here. She met the requirements, period. There is nothing, it doesn't matter if you like her. It doesn't matter how she's polling. It doesn't matter how she performed in other states. She met the requirements, period. This is just such disgusting behavior. It's so typical of the DNC. They tried many times before in previous debates to make sure that she was excluded, cherry picking which polls they'd use to make sure that she doesn't meet the polling threshold. They hate her. The Democratic establishment despises Tulsi Gabbard because she is a threat to them. And this proves to you the neoliberals are complete hypocrites. They always say, oh, we support women. We support people of color. Really? Then why are you excluding the only woman and the only woman of color left in the race from being on the debate stage? She qualified. End of story, period. But when Mike Bloomberg dumps $300,000 to the DNC, $800,000 to their local state parties, and bribes his way into the debate stage, that's fine. For him, they'll change the rules. If you're a billionaire and you fill the DNC's pockets full of cash, then they'll change the debate requirements just for you. Only for you. There's your Democratic Party. There's your Workers' Party. There's your party that fights for equal rights and democracy and cares so much about fair elections. But on the other hand, if you criticize the neoliberal establishment, if you bring up the truth about Hillary Clinton, if you criticize the wars, then they blackball you. Then you become persona non grata. Then they don't want you anymore. Not to mention that she's very quick-witted and good on a debate stage. Just remember how she took down Kamala Harris. I mean, she basically ended Kamala Harris' career after that, right? And then after CNN and New York Times tried to smear her with this Russia nonsense, what did she do? She came on the debate stage, which they were hosting, and she scolded them beautifully, and rightfully so, because they're smear merchants who are trying to attack her based on nothing. Just because she went against the Queen Hillary Clinton, she goes against the establishment and their war hawk foreign policy. So what they're afraid of is that if she's present on the March 15th debate, she's going to go after Biden. I mean, let's be real here. That would help Bernie Sanders very much. You know, as much as we love Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden is a friend of mine is not going to be enough. You need Tulsi Gabbard on his side, you know, to get the job done, because she won't hold back. She has nothing to lose. She's already been blackballed by the establishment. They already hate her. There's nothing more they can do. I think if she were there, I think it would be very beneficial, because just look at how she went after Kamala. She doesn't hold back. She's not afraid to criticize the news media, the establishment. I mean, so does Bernie Sanders, but she really doesn't hold back. So she would be a great ally to Bernie on that stage. I'll be honest, it would be nice to see just Bernie and Biden so people can really see the contrast, but Tulsi Gabbard would probably help in that aspect, because she could really expose Joe Biden's war hawk tendencies, how he supported Libya, he helped destroy Syria with Obama, Yemen, Somalia, he orchestrated the Iraq War. Yes, Bernie Sanders is calling that out, but Tulsi Gabbard will really hammer it home. I don't think it would hurt Bernie Sanders in any way. I think it would only be beneficial. And remember, Tulsi Gabbard had his back in 2016. She burnt her bridges with the establishment for him. So she made a choice. I can stay as vice chair, I can support Hillary and the corruption, or I can leave and support Bernie Sanders. And she did. She supported Bernie. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, just 2 hours ago, she put out a tweet asking for Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden to side with her in asking the DNC to change the requirements again to allow her on the debate stage. I'm going to read it to you. She says, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, I'm sure you would agree that our Democratic nominee should be a person who will stand up for what is right. So I ask that you have the courage to do that now in the face of the DNC's effort to keep me from participating in the debates. To keep me off the stage, the DNC again arbitrarily changed the debate qualifications. Previously, they changed the qualifications in the opposite direction so Bloomberg could debate. I ask that you stand with me against the DNC's transparent effort to exclude me from the debates. For Bloomberg, they lowered the threshold. They said, oh, you don't need a minimum number of individual donors because Bloomberg had none. He's self-financing. But for Tulsi Gabbard, they raised the threshold. They make sure that she can't participate, even though she had met the requirements. So this is a very interesting tweet here. This is a very interesting call to action. It puts Bernie Sanders in a tough spot, I would say. I don't know what his advisors will be telling him. We're going to see if he actually comes through for Tulsi Gabbard. I doubt Joe Biden will. In 2016, Tulsi, she was vice chair of the DNC, okay? And when she saw how they were treating, or mistreating rather, Bernie Sanders and rigging the election, undermining the progressive wing of the party, she resigned in protest and endorsed Bernie Sanders. She refused to endorse Hillary Clinton. She took a stand against the neoliberal establishment. And they've never forgotten that. To this day, they're going after her, right? The whole Russia smear, that she's a Putin puppet, Hillary Clinton coming out of the woodwork to attack her, saying that she's a Manchurian candidate, all the hit pieces we saw from the New York Times. They published a greatest hits piece against her with every single smear about her that you can possibly imagine. The whole Assad apologist thing, which is very interesting because when she went to Syria, she didn't just meet with Assad. She met with religious leaders, with literally everyone. Whereas John McCain, when he went to Syria illegally, all right, illegally entered the country with no permission, he met with rebels affiliated with Al-Qaeda and funded terrorist groups to destroy Syria. But yeah, let's not talk about that, right? Let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard just trying to go on a fact-finding mission. They have all these smears against her and making sure that she has no chance whatsoever of appearing in public and having her voice heard and her anti-war position heard. Because remember, the Democratic establishment are war hawks just as much as the conservatives, okay? When Obama got into office, so many people were like, oh my God, he's so good. He's so much better than Bush. He's going to stop the war in Iraq. He's going to close Guantanamo. He's going to stop Afghanistan. And what did he do? He went and turned those 2 wars into 7. Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Syria, expanded mass surveillance, kept the torture program. So much for peace-loving Democrats. So when Tulsi Gabbard comes along and has these very strong anti-war positions, anti-regime change war positions, they blackball her. She's one of the few people who dares to criticize the war hawk foreign policy that is being committed by both parties. She's one of the few people who's saying the U.S. should stop arming terrorists in the Middle East, in Syria. She even put forth legislation that's called the Stop Arming Terrorists Act. She acknowledges that the United States is supporting terrorism in Syria, in the Middle East. She acknowledges that this whole narrative about the moderate rebels is gone. There's no such thing anymore. And again, this really highlights the double standard, the hypocrisy of how American society treats veterans. If you shut up and you follow orders, we love you. Thank you for your service. Here's a medal. But if you talk about the wars, if you're anti-war, if you criticize the foreign policy, then we're going to go after you. You saw that veteran with Joe Biden, the video I did? He didn't even speak to him. He sent him to fight in a war. He sent him to kill civilians, and then he wouldn't even give him the time of day. You see Tulsi Gabbard? She's a major in the army. I mean, dude, she's just a few ranks away from general. She's been serving in the army for 16 years. Everyone claims they love veterans so much. They praise their veterans. They pride themselves in their military. But if you criticize the wars, now we don't like you. You see the double standard? You see? Now all of a sudden your service doesn't matter. Now the fact that she's been 16 years in the National Guard doesn't matter. Tulsi Gabbard sits on the House Committee on Armed Forces. And despite that, they still call her a Russian puppet. They say that she's secretly being controlled by Russia. Dude, if you've been 16 years in the army, if you're a major, and you sit on the House Committee on Armed Forces, you've been vetted by probably every single intelligence agency there is, multiple times, okay? If there was any, even a sliver, any indication that she had any relation to a foreign power, she would have been ousted and exposed just like anyone else, okay? So this is a nonsense allegation. Not to mention, she is literally a congresswoman too. I mean, Jesus Christ, like what more do you want? So again, this is another attempt to undermine Tulsi Gabbard and her anti-war message. They don't want people hearing that. It's bad for business. It's bad for business. The job of whoever's hosting the debates, whatever news media outlet it is, they're all corporate media. They work for the military-industrial complex. They're an arm of the military-industrial complex. They sell wars to you. They convince you that war is good. So you be quiet when there's being billions spent and people are dying. That's their job. It's propaganda. So when Tulsi Gabbard comes on and tells you the truth, it's bad for business. It's bad for their donors. And just recently, she came out in defense of Bernie Sanders. She said that U.S. intelligence agencies need to stop spreading these rumors that Russia is trying to help Bernie Sanders because it undermines his candidacy and it props up Joe Biden and the other establishment candidates. Rarely will you hear that from other politicians. And again, for all the naysayers who are claiming that, oh, she has no path to the nomination. Dude, I don't care. She qualified for the debates. End of story. If you claim that you're so democratic and you support fair elections and you support minorities, people of color and women, then let her debate. What have you got to lose? You know, there's some people who even say like, oh, why is she running then right now at the same time as Bernie? Well, she ran for president. She announced her candidacy before Bernie did. Okay, just saying. So there you go. And look, man, the rules are the rules. She qualified for the debate. Like I said at the beginning of this video, no need to make any other arguments. It's so hypocritical. Like people say that, oh, you're a Russian puppet, you're undermining our democracy. Dude, if you care so much about democracy, then why aren't you following the rules that the DNC set out? Why are you allowing them to change the rules at the last second to screw over another candidate? If you're so supportive of democracy, if you're so concerned about upholding the standards. Hypocrisy, man. And honestly, when you look at how the DNC treats her, excluding her from the debates, when you look at how they smear her in the New York Times and CNN, on MSNBC, when you look at how Hillary Clinton and all these senior Democratic figures come out of the woodwork constantly to attack her, dude, it's no wonder that she goes on Fox News. People say that, oh, she's a right-winger and she's going on Fox News because she's fishing for a job on Fox News. No. You drove her away to Fox News. You won't let her have a voice. You won't let her on the debate stage. You won't bring her on the air. And even recently, in regards to Bernie, we've seen Fox News giving more honest, objective coverage. Yeah, you hate to see it. It's bewildering. You have a right-wing news outlet giving more airtime and relatively objective airtime to Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard than the left do. So look, man, I think regardless what you think of Tulsi Gabbard, the rules are the rules. The fact that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't have a path to the nomination, that's not the point here. The point is, the DNC are corrupt and they bend the rules for billionaires and then change the rules when they want to blackball someone else.